There's a great story of a guy that in the mid-1900s, early 1900s, that went to his doctor. And they did all the exams on him, and they told him that he had end stage, fourth stage esophageal cancer, and that he had 6 months to live and to get his affairs in order. So the guy goes home, announces to his family that he's got end stage esophageal cancer and he's got 6 months to live. His family starts treating him in certain ways. They're preparing him to die. Of course, in just a few days, over 6 months, he dies he dies. And so they do an autopsy on his body and they find out he has no esophageal cancer. So if you think about that, he died by thought alone.
Yes.
He tuned into that possibility in the field, emotionally embraced what it would be like, lived as if, that's a state of being, and his body was drawn to that destiny. Okay? Now, you take another experiment where you take a group of patients that have Parkinson's disease, okay? And Parkinson's disease is a deficiency in dopamine. The brain can't make dopamine. And when there's not enough dopamine in the brain, there's involuntary tremors. In other words, there's a tremor or a pill rolling or what's called steppage gait or festination gait. The body, the upper motor neurons cause the body to go into spastic paralysis, right? So they did this experiment where they took people and they said, okay, listen, we got this really great hot new drug. And they pull out this big needle and it's a saline injection. It's salt. And they say to them, look, okay, now, here we're going to give you this injection, and more than 50% of the people that got the injection, all of their involuntary tremors went away. In other words, disappeared. So now they were no longer having any imbalances physically in their body. So the doctors that did the experiment said, well, that's just a placebo effect. And then they said, well, what is the placebo? So what they did was they took a radioactive dye that competes with receptor sites in the brain for dopamine. So if the person is making their own dopamine and they inject the radioactive dye that goes into those receptor sites, when they photograph the brain, there should be no radioactive dye in the brain because dopamine is in there. Mm-hmm. If they're not making their own dopamine and they shoot the radioactive dye in there, you can see all the brain light up because it's competing, it's filling the receptor sites for dopamine. So when they did the test, they found out that those people were making their own dopamine. In other words, they moved into a new state of being. They got the injection. They thought that they were well. As they began to think that they were well, they began to act like they were well. The moment they were acting like they were well, they began to embrace what it would feel like to be well. And how you think and feel is a state of being. That's a belief. And in a matter of moments, they were being well. Now, the moment you're being something, the intelligence that gives you life, that's both within you and all around you, personal and universal, endorses who you're being. So the intelligence says, oh, he's being or she's being healthy, so now I have to make the internal chemistry to reflect the state of being. So they started making their own dopamine. Now here's the caveat. The caveat is that the results only lasted for a little time, like a day or so, maybe 2 days. And some people would say, why would that be? Because the moment the person returned back into their same present life, they saw their wife, they saw their husband, they saw the caregiver, they saw the bed, they played chess with the guys who complained about their conditions. The moment they got back into their environment, the environment was so strong that by association, just like Pavlov ringing the bell and salivating, the body physiologically returned back to the old state of being. Now here's the question. If meditation is about going from thinking to being, because that's what it's really about, you can't get up as the same person who sat down. You have to get up as somebody else. If that's what meditation is about, then could you move into a state of being and instead of putting your belief into a sugar pill or a saline injection, because all they did was accept the potential, could you then put your attention into the unknown, to the possibility of the quantum field, and move into a state of being every day? And if it only lasts for a day, because that environment is that powerful, wouldn't it be a good idea then to get up every morning in a different state of being and create an elevated level of energy to open your heart and experience goodwill and gratitude before the event, to be inspired and enthusiastic and marry it with possibility and get up from that state of being and then maintain that modified state of mind your entire day so that the experience of your meditation turns into a good mood. The question is, can you teach it? So then when we get to that point where we're all of a sudden now becoming conscious of who we are then, and we're eliminating the environment, we're selecting the potential in the quantum field, and we're saying, this is what I'm intending on. And we obsess about that intention. We keep thinking, we're wired to do this. This is what we're wired to do. Now, you may say, well, you know, what is that, prayer? I don't care what you call it, but when you believe in your internal paradigm, your internal vision, and you're making it more real than your external world, and you are emotionally embracing it, not just hoping, not just wanting, but you have to emotionally embrace the outcome. That's the element.
Yes.
You have to bring up the feeling before it's made
Exactly.
manifest. And the quantum model of reality says you have to teach your body emotionally what it feels like ahead of the actual event.
Yes.
You have to literally change the circuitry in your brain to look like the experience has happened, and you have to emotionally condition your body into giving it a taste of the future so that your body's physically changed. Now, if your brain and body are physically changed to look like the experience has happened, relax, because the experience has already happened and it's going to find you. And it's going to come in a way that you least expect. Now, why does it have to come in a way that you least expect? Because if you can expect it, it's nothing new. It's got to rock your world.
Absolutely.
It's got to catch you off guard. It has to leave no doubt that what you did inside of you produced some result outside of you. And when you can correlate the changes you've made inside of you with the effects that you produced outside of you, you'll pay attention to what you did and you'll do it again. That's called causing an effect. And that level of empowerment is what every human being is after. It's not the car, it's not the SUV, it's not the lover, it's not the vacation. It's the fact that you created it from your mind. And when you get a taste of that, then all of a sudden, the material things become incidental, because now you're going to want to experience the mystical. You're going to want to understand and unravel the mystery of who you really are. Think about antiquity. Gender, race, color, social status, intellectual ability, religion has all disseminated and divided people. And in their ignorance, they think they have to go through someone to get there.
Right.
We come preloaded with all the biological and neurological machinery to do this. We are divine creators. That's who we are. And if you're waking up every day and getting out of bed and doing the same thing and going to the same place and seeing the same people at the exact same time, and then allowing the same people to push the same emotional buttons, and then it's your external environment. Your environment's controlling how you think and feel. You're a victim to your environment. The quantum model says change how you think and feel and see if you can put an effect in your environment. Now, when you get to this point, I don't care if you're the CEO of a major company or a prison inmate or the janitor in the school or the school teacher, everybody secretly believes in their greatness. They do. They secretly believe that they can do a better job in life. And when we get to that point of consciousness, becoming conscious, right? I don't care what paradigm you accept, but the bottom line is that there is some aspect of us at cause in our life. That's the new model of reality. And so when you truly are in a state of creation, guess what? You're not your face. You're not your body. You're not your identity. You're not your breasts. You're not a mother. You're not a wife. You're not your car. You're not your house. You're not living in this lifetime in linear time. In order to get to the field of possibility, you have to become pure consciousness. You have to become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time. And when we dissociate from this present reality, we just walk through to the door to the quantum field. You can't enter as a somebody. You have to enter as a nobody. And that means then, by very nature, you have to become pure consciousness. And when you are, then you have dominion to change your body. Now you have the ability to create something in your life, in your environment, and you transcend or create another time. When we start, look, after What the Bleep, the most common thing we heard was, how do you do it, So we started teaching these workshops around the world, and we were teaching people how to do it. And for 2 years, we really didn't produce much results. We didn't have a lot of results. And after 2 years, all of a sudden, the floodgates opened. We started getting emails. And of course, the very first line of every email that we got, and it's still the same to this day, is you're not going to believe this. That's the first line of every email. Hey, I gave up my anger and my acid reflux went away. Hey, I got this job. I'm making $40,000 more than I was last year. I'm traveling along the West Coast. I got all expenses. All of these amazing. I won the lottery. All of a sudden we started getting this floodgate of all these possibilities where people were manifesting reality. So we knew then that we were getting feedback that we were doing something right. So we started teaching more advanced workshops, and then this crazy thing happened. We started having people getting healed right during our workshops. Okay, so what we did first and foremost is we measured the ambient energy in the room. We had a little over 200 participants in this advanced workshop. It was a 4-day workshop, and we said, okay, we measured the energy in the room, and it was roughly 2,800 joules or so, 3,800 joules. At the end of the 4-day workshop, it was over 5,200 joules. So we have a very, very substantial amount of energy, available energy, that's in that room. It was palpable by the 4th day, but we measured it, and now we know there's more energy, less matter in the room. We know that. So we took people through the process of examining their past the first day. And when we studied them examining their past, their brain actually got worse. So when I looked at the brain scans of people in the middle of their meditation, they were using their brain to try to change their brain. They were using the program to try to change their program. They were using the ego to try to change the ego. And their brain worked harder, and their brainwave patterns went up, and they got worse. But then when we started shifting to the present moment, and all of a sudden they were calling energy back, the energy room started to rise. By the 3rd day, during meditations, I watched the strip chart just raise, and this is the result of it. So people were exuding energy. Their body's energy went from very small to very large, and it was cluttering the room and creating a new morphogenic field. So there was a field that was created there. So we now know that that happened. Now, this is what a change in coherence looks like in the brain. If you look on the left side, this person has a lot of chatter going on in their brain. Their brain is working way too hard. They're thinking about everything. They're analyzing their life within the emotions that they're memorized. Their brain is in a high arousal state. After one meditation, we see a normal, healthy brain. So you got 2 parts of the brain, 2 halves of the brain communicating. That is a level of wholeness where the person is literally viewing their life from a different mind.